Hey, it's Ariana here from Scale and Simplify, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to set up a course or membership inside of Kartra. Now, before we jump in, there are a few things that you might want to have handy, just so that you have them as we need to pull on them in the settings through the setup. So one of those things is your logo, but you want to have it in a size graphic that is 250 by 50. I just do this in Canva, like I'll create a new design that is with those specific dimensions, and then I will put my logo centered on there. So you want to have that handy. You also want to have a sort of a graphic that has your course name or logo on it. The dimensions for that you can use are 1440 by 1080. Just make sure that your actual course name or like the text part of it is centered on the page, kind of the way that it is here. This gets pulled in a couple of different places, and in some places it only shows the like this middle area, whereas for example on the login page it's going to pull this full graphic where people log in, put in their login credentials. Okay, so we're going to get those ready. And then the third thing that you want to have handy, if possible, is your welcome email content. So you can come back and add that in later as well, but it helps if you have it ready before you jump into the setup. All right, so I'm just going to jump in. If you go to my memberships, that will get you there, and I'm going to click the green button and give it a name. Okay, so the first screen here is the basic information. So we've got our course name. You can put a brief description, like a one-sentence description of your course, and then we need to put in whatever your sales page is. So this is because everything is connected in Kartra, and for metrics purposes and all of that, it needs to be linked to some sort of sales page. So if this is external to Kartra, you can just put in the link here. If it's a page inside of Kartra, you can select it from the drop-down menus. Okay, and then this is where we're going to put that course logo that we prepared. And we can see here it wants it to be square, but we do want to have this full sized graphic there. Okay, save. And then next, you get to select whether or not you want it to be password protected. Assuming that you are selling your course, we're going to keep it on access as password protected. Click Save. And Save and Next. Okay, so this is kind of where the settings branch off into the Launch Builder. And so we're going to pop into the Launch Builder. I'll walk through everything that is inside of that. And then we're going to, once we save, we'll be put back into this sort of series of settings, and we'll go through the rest of these settings until the whole setup is complete. Okay, so I'm just going to click on Launch Builder. Okay, now a few things. First, I want to go over terminology inside of Kartra. So the first thing is it's called memberships, but also oftentimes we would call that a course. So it's not necessarily a membership if you think of it in the sense of an actual membership. So that's one thing. Then in here we have categories and posts. Those are the terms that are used inside of Kartra. So here it says drag your post content here. The way that I sort of translate that for myself is a category is a module and a post is a lesson or a part of a lesson. But to keep it as simple as possible, you can think of categories as modules and posts as lessons. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the general layout. One thing to note is that there's sort of like the front end of what your course is going to look like, and then there is the builder, and they're not necessarily identical. So I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. If you go here to the top right hand corner under Actions, if we click on Preview, this is where we're going to choose what the layout on the front end actually looks like, or rather the template as they call it. So I'm going to just choose this middle one and then click Preview to show you. Okay, so this is where it says home here in this bubble. This is where your like lesson or page content is going to be. When we are looking at it on the back end, it's not 100% identical to that. So all of that is to say this on the back end won't change much, but you can make additional changes to how it's actually laid out on the front end. The other thing you get to choose as far as layout is the sidebar placement. So up here on the top, you can select whether or not your sidebar should be on the left or right hand side, or on both. Okay, so I'm going to choose right. All right, and so the first thing I'm going to do is change the colors to my brand colors. Okay, and that'll just kind of adopt it on everything. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through all of the sections and the different options that you have for the page. But it will be a general overview. We will dig deeper in a separate lesson into like how to best structure your course and tips for using some of these different formatting options on your pages. So for now, I'm just going to show you kind of an overview of what is in here, what everything means, and how to get started. All right, so starting from the top down, we've selected the sidebar and the colors. Now we want to edit this top bar here. So if we click edit on the right hand side here, this is where we're going to upload that logo that we prepared. And here you can also change the names of the menu items on the top here. So I'm just going to leave them as is, but they come up when you hover over those buttons. Okay, so next we want to add content. We want to add some modules to our course, and that's how we're going to do that is if you click on the menu bar here and click edit, all of those settings are going to come up. So the first thing we can do is change the name of the home page. Now, one thing to note is that you can't get rid of this section. So you can change the name of it, but you can't completely get rid of it in its entirety. But either way, I do recommend having a welcome page, and so you wouldn't want to jump into the first module right away anyway. Okay, so let me just do that again. Here it says add category. So again, this would be like a module. So we're going to click add category, click edit, and change the name to module 1. And then a little plus button appears where you can add subcategories, which would be kind of like a lesson. I'm just going to put lesson 1, and I'm going to add a few more. All right, so now that I have finished with that, I'm going to click save. And now we can see here we've got module 1, lesson 1, module 2, lesson 2, 1. All right, so if we want to add content to these pages, we would go to the sidebar here. So I'm just going to walk through what the options are. So here we can see sidebar contents. These are like the blocks or types of content that you can put in a sidebar. And then under post contents, these are the blocks or types of content that you can put in the sort of main area of your lesson page. Okay, so we are a little bit limited in the sidebar contents. Like you can't just put text and whatever you want in that section, but there's a lot more flexibility in the main area here. The other thing to note with the sidebar is that it's sort of universal throughout your course or membership. And so you only have to do it once, and it's going to automatically appear on all of the modules, all of the lessons that you put in throughout the course. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of these so you get a sense of what you can do. The first one is host, so you can just drag it out. Here you get to pick what you would want it to look like. This is like an intro to you. You want to put, you can put like your title or a brief sentence or bio in there. You can also select to have social media icons, and they will appear here like we're seeing in the preview. I'm just going to keep that off for now for myself. And this is, you can change this, but what it's doing here is it's pulling in whatever headshot or main logo you selected in your general Kartra settings. So it pulls that in automatically, but you can go in and change it as well. So I'm just going to click save. All right, and then another thing we can do is put in a progress bar. So I'm going to put that above the host section, and that'll just kind of show them again throughout the membership how many of the lessons they have viewed. You can put featured posts. Again, a post is kind of like a lesson. You can put a product in the sidebar. So this is a really good way to cross-sell. If you've got multiple things, you can drag out a product and it'll let you select one of the products you already have inside of your Kartra, and it'll just have a little preview, and then they can click on it and be taken right to that sales page. Or you can have a banner. This is something that I'll talk about a lot in a follow-up tutorial where I will show you how to best lay everything out and to keep people engaged and make things super clear for your students. So a banner is basically an image with a link to it, but there's lots of things that you can do with that. All right, and then for post contents, this is like the stuff you can put in the middle. I'm just going to drag out a headline as an example. You can make edits here, just like any text editor. Okay, I'm going to drag out a video. And this is where you can, no matter where you have hosted your videos, you can host them inside of Kartra. You can upload a video right from within here as you are working through this, or you can drop links from other external hosting platforms as well. So I'm just going to pick a sample one that I have in here from Kartra for demonstration purposes. Okay, and then we've got lots of other stuff here. You can add in images, you can add buttons, dividers, you can add a highlights box, which is kind of like a little reminder section, and on it goes. Again, I'll go through these in a separate tutorial, but this is just like to get you started. Okay, the next thing is, after your welcome page is done, you want to go in and add your lessons. So I just want to walk you through how to actually do that and how to organize the content. So what's going to happen is after you've created your post, your categories rather, it's just going to be empty. And so you have to add a post, which is like the lesson bits. So on the left-hand side here, as soon as you go to one of these other pages, aside from the welcome page or the home page, on the left-hand side here under content, you're going to see new post. So now we have another menu item, another option to drag out. So we're going to move this out here. And I'm just going to give it a name. You can put it in a description if you want. Okay, and this is also where you would, if you wanted to move this later, it's very easy to do so. You would just come in here and select a different category or subcategory. You can also select icons. So for example, if this is going to be a video, I'm going to go ahead and select this icon. You can also just leave it off and it will just stay as the text that you write here. Okay, so I'm going to click save. All right, and then I'm going to add a second one right underneath. Okay, so this is, just for example, if you wanted to have a worksheet or something that was separate to the video, we're going to put it in a separate post. Okay. So let me just go into the video one and add in a placeholder and to into this one and add in some text. So again, this is just an example. What you could also do is not have subcategories. So you can also put your lessons as posts within one module. Okay, so the other thing that I want to note too is that when it comes to progressing through the course, there isn't like a mark complete button or anything like that inside of Kartra right now. And so when it's showing their progress, it just means that they have clicked on one of these posts that you've created, opened it up, and then that's going to count towards their progress out of the total number of lessons or posts in there. So just know that as well. And then you can also you don't have to have separate posts. Like I mentioned, you can also just have your video, add some text underneath it, add a reminder, and so on. Okay? So like I said, I won't go into too many details on those things. I just want you to be able to understand the structure of everything in here. All right, so that is the gist of it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and save progress. And then I'm going to preview what it looks like so I can show you. This time I'm going to select this one. Okay, and now we can see what that will actually look like on the front end for your students. So like you saw, I selected the template that has the menu on the left-hand side. So here we have the welcome page. That's where it takes us initially. They would click on the lesson, and then here is where they can also see the subsections of that lesson. So they would go to this one, and then they would go to the second part of that one lesson. Again, you don't need to have more than one, so it could just be that they go here and there's only one post or section within that lesson. All right, and then the last thing that I'll note is just make sure that you're, consistently, because every time you click save, I'm gonna exit out of this, so save and exit. You can change this like every day if you wanted. It's not gonna edit the content. You're not gonna lose anything if you switch to a different template or anything like that. Obviously, just keep it consistent so that your students aren't wondering what's going on. But just kind of select one and then stick to that for the most part. So I'm going to exit the builder and now save and next. Okay, so now we have the option to enable comments, and this is done per lesson or post rather. So what I would recommend is clicking configure later in this section until you have gone through the entire course setup and put in all of your lessons into here. Okay, so that you can, because you do need to select for each and every one of them. They are off by default, so if you don't want comments on, then you can just go ahead and save and not worry about this section. And comments are just underneath each post. So for example, here, there would just be a comments box underneath this section at the bottom. Okay, so here we can see a summary of how many are off, how many are on. So I'm going to click save and next. All right, so here is where you can have different levels of memberships. So an example of how you could use this is, let's say that you had a regular and a VIP version of your course, and the VIPs get like 3 bonus modules as extras. You would have, level standard and level, you would add a VIP level, and then only the VIPs would have access to that additional module or modules. So I won't go into detail about that in this particular video, but basically you can just toggle on and off what you want each level to have access to. it's just a standard course, you're just going to not worry about adding anything, and you're just going to have the one standard level. This is also where you can select whether or not you want people to have instant access to everything, or if you want to drip out the content. So there are a few options in here. You can keep it as instant access, so that means as soon as they purchase your course and get access to it, they're able to view everything that's in there. You can also delay it by a certain number of days after sign up. So this is if it's like an evergreen course and you want to trickle things out every 7 days, that is what you would select here. Or you can pick a specific date. And so this is if you are running a live course and you want to release modules on a particular date, you would select that one. So I'm just going to leave it on instant for now. Save. And this is just every time you click save, it like brings you back to a summary of those settings. So we're good to go here. I'm going to click save and next. Okay, and so this is where you can pick whether or not you want a progress bar to show up on every post or module. So that would be like on these pages at the bottom, as opposed to the specific one that we put into the sidebar. So you can either not have a sidebar, or you can select, this is kind of a preview of what it'll look like. You can select whether or not you want it to force linear progression. And what that means is, let's say you have 5 modules. If you select yes to forcing linear progression, it'll force people to go through all of the previous modules 1 through 4 before they can actually open up module 5. Now, again, there's nowhere for them to like click complete or anything like that. I know some systems have that. Progression in Kartra just means opening up that post. And so they can still get to module 5. They just have to click through each of the previous lessons and modules. Okay? Or you can have the progress bar but not force linear progression, so that there isn't any barriers to them just kind of clicking on whichever future module they want to see. Okay, and so I'm going to select this for now, and then underneath here we can also select whether or not we want to have a completion badge. So what that does is just shows them like a pop-up that congratulates them on completing that particular lesson. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that off and click save. Save and next. Okay, next is help desk. I'm going to leave this off, but this is great. If you have a help desk set up in Kartra, you can connect it right into the membership, and then people can have the option to contact you from within the membership. There will be like a little contact us button. Okay, and then this is where you would put in your welcome email. This is really important because this is the only way that they can get their login details. So in Kartra, there's various ways that you can deliver emails to people, but when it comes to memberships, you want to have a welcome email right within the membership. It does give you the option to not send the welcome email, but if it is a password protected membership and you need people to get that password, you need to select yes in this section. So I'm going to say yes and click save. And then what happens is the email editor will open up here. So it will automatically pull in a template email for you. And this is really handy because it shows you kind of how you can structure just like delivering all of the content and using the dynamic variables, or like pulling in the custom fields for people. So here, just like any other email, you're going to put the subject. You can add preview text if you'd like. And then up here, we have the codes for those dynamic fields. And so, for example, here we see login page. If you, let's say you deleted it. Here we can say, okay, this is the login page. And just copy and paste the text field. There's no and click a button or anything. You literally just copy the text and then paste it down into here. You can also put in their access level if you are using different levels and you want them to have that in this email. You can put in the membership. This would be the name of the membership that comes up. And at the very least, though, you need these three things. So the login page where they're going to log in, their email, and it's going to generate a password for them. The one thing I will note is that this is like auto-generated, and you will not have access to people's passwords. And so if somebody doesn't save this and they email you asking for their password, you will be able to trigger like a password reset, but you can't like tell them what their password is or anything like that. So you would edit this, making sure that you keep at least this inside of the email, add in more content below, before and after it if you wish, and save. All right, save and next. Now we've got automations. So in Kartra, this is like automations are all over the place. They're everywhere. You can automate within every different area within Kartra. So for right now, I'm going to leave this. But for example, you can assign tags. Normally what I do though is I will assign the tag to people when they purchase. So as soon as they purchase, they get access to the membership. And so here in that instance, if that's how you set it up, it would be redundant to put a tag here. But if you were for example, giving people access to the membership for free, or they were getting in some other way and you wanted to tag specifically who had access to the membership, if they're not tagged through something else in Kartra, then you would do that in here. Okay. You can also subscribe them to a sequence. So this would be pretty handy. Most likely you're going to have some sort of onboarding sequence of emails, and I will also talk about that in a separate tutorial. But you'll have, reminder emails, additional welcome emails to make sure everything is really clear for them. And this is where you can automatically, once you've set up that sequence, you can have them automatically go into it as soon as they get granted access to the membership. Okay, and then there are advanced automations. This is the same as everywhere else inside of the system. You've got a few different options here for triggers. So let's say that every time they are given access to the membership, you can trigger a variety of different things. You can give points. You can grant or revoke access to a different membership, and so on. So I'm gonna leave that one. All right, so save and next on that step, and that's it. That is the basics of setting up your membership. Like I said, there are other tutorials, or going to be other tutorials as well, for kind of digging deeper into this and really structuring your course in a way that makes it super easy and clear for people to go through the content and get the most out of it as much as they possibly can. If you are in the middle of a launch, you're about to launch, planning on launching, or anything like that, be sure to click below, check out the description. There are some free, awesome goodies for you that will help you save tons of time as you launch. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this tutorial, click like below and subscribe to our channel for more tips on scaling and simplifying your online business. If you know someone else who would benefit from this video or similar ones, share it with them as well. Thanks for watching!